Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports takes from around the country. Now, you're probably wondering, why watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about your thoughts, views, or opinions. They think we're dumb. They think we don't know what we're talking about. I think that's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. And they say this sort of thing all the time. They consider us losers. We're just a bunch of clowns, on Twitter, on YouTube, and they're fools. And they just think that we don't know anything. And you know what? I think the opposite. And so I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is amazing, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing ever, also let me know in the comments below. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please definitely consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. I honestly see this channel just as much as mine as it is yours. And I want us all to feel something like we're part of something special, that we're actually building something, and that we're proud to be part of this community. And honestly, it's already going so well, so quickly, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're talking about, of course, the Ravens and the 49ers on first things first. Which number one seed has the better chance of winning the Super Bowl? This is actually a very interesting question that I'll jump into after we watch this clip. But the answer is it's a harder answer than I think people want to give credit to.
Afternoon headlines, and we have a new sponsor, Dot's Sensationally Seasoned Pretzels. I get all to some of those.
I hope so.
Me
I would
too.
love to try.
Both number one seed quarterbacks, Brock and Lamar, resting this weekend. Brew, which number one seed is more likely to make the Super Bowl? The 49ers, who you want to pick but refuse to, or
Can I bring America behind the curtain?
Of course.
I mean, because Nick thought he was slick. He thought he was slick on the day's call when we did. Brew, which one you got? You know who I got.
That is true.
You know who I got.
True.
Right?
And I was thinking if there was a long pause, I was going to use it against you on the air. That is absolutely true. Go ahead.
I have got the Ravens.
Solid pick.
All right, that's absolutely. Because look, I'm not writing off the Chiefs. But outside of them, and we're only giving them credit because of history.
Mm-hmm.
And you are writing off the Dolphins, correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty much
That's what I thought.
Ravens have no chance of winning the Super Bowl. Or the Dolphins have no chance.
Look, they're tough. They're AFC North. We know it could be a battle. But, I mean, who in the AFC outside of the Chiefs, if they somehow turn back the clock, is there really that's a world beater? In the NFC, you got Philadelphia to go through. And I know they haven't looked good recently. And even the Cowboys. All right, I know they haven't looked good recently, but the ingredients are there. All right, and that's all I'm saying. So they're battle tested. So no, my answer is the Ravens.
So I think it's the Niners, because the Niners have shown you that. So why do I not believe in the Niners? Because I don't believe Purdy can play from behind. But the Niners made a Super Bowl with a quarterback far worse than Purdy in this situation. They made a Super Bowl where in the entire run-up to...
Okay, but this whole notion, it's a different team, okay? It's a different team, and it's different play calling, and you're playing different teams with different players on those teams. So to say that they've done something similar in the past, it makes no sense. This isn't, some computer program where we're running this simulation under the exact circumstances, but we're just changing out Garoppolo for Brock Purdy. So comparing that to the past, it makes zero sense. Let me say that again. It makes zero sense. It has no relevance whatsoever. So to bring it up and even to talk about it is a waste of time. It is an absolute, positively waste of time. You're a different team, and even if you have a lot of the same players, they're older, they're different players, they're either better or worse, they're either more banged up or less banged up than they were. I mean, it's just different. Are you the same person that you were last year? No, you are not. Are you the same person you were a few months ago? No, you are not, okay? So this whole idea that years later that you're like the same thing, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And really the reason why he's saying that is because if he said the Ravens were, he would be admitting that the Ravens were going to beat the Chiefs. And so he doesn't want to say that, obviously. So I just think that take right off the top makes no sense whatsoever.
To the Super Bowl, they got 207 yards passing total.
And
one passing
Which won't
touchdown
be the case.
total. And they won both games by 17 points. They were the 1 seed. They dominated round 1. And then in round 3, they just ran the ball every damn time they wanted to and went to the Super Bowl. Baltimore, to me, has 3 things working against them. And they are undeniably, right through the regular season, they are the undisputed champions, if such a thing were to exist, because they crushed the Niners and they've checked every box. But I think they have 3 things working against them. One is the lack of playoff success for Lamar is a real thing until it's not. I'm not at all.
So I've already been through this, so I'm not going to keep saying it, especially for a lot of the returning viewers here. I've already said the lack of success for Lamar is not fair. He hasn't had elite teams around him, so it's just not fair. And it was also like, you can't, hold his feet to the fire for his first time being in the playoffs too, right? Like that first game he was ever in the playoffs. He hadn't even played a full season. So it's just not fair. And again, he always wants to compare it to Patrick Mahomes' success, stuff like that. Patrick Mahomes has a world-class Hall of Famer quarterback who might be, head coach who might go down the books as the best head coach ever, especially as Bill Belichick has failed without Tom Brady. Andy Reid has succeeded with every single quarterback he's ever had. He succeeded in Philly. He succeeded in the Chiefs before Patrick Mahomes as well. And so that really, really matters. Patrick Mahomes also has Travis Kelce, who a lot of people see as the best tight end in the history of the world. If you don't believe that, he's still obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer, without a doubt. Tyreek Hill, most likely a first ballot Hall of Fame wide receiver. Those things matter. Stop acting like they don't matter. If they didn't matter, then you wouldn't pay all that money to get those players, and you wouldn't need those players. You could just win with everyone. And now this year that he doesn't have a Tyreek Hill and that Travis Kelce is no longer playing at a Hall of Fame level, how good is Patrick Mahomes doing right now? Not that good. And in any other year, they probably would be fighting just to make the playoffs, and at least definitely fighting just to be a wild card and not win their division. They're very lucky that their division is garbage and trash, and that even the wild card this year, a lot of bad teams are getting in because of so many injuries. So it's just not fair to put that all on Lamar Jackson. But I'll leave it at that because I've said this so many times, because this seems to be a common point.
Saying he's never going to be good in the playoffs. What I'm saying is I think that is an active detriment, because I think there is a psychological component to playoff
With
games.
him, you think?
Yeah,
I don't think he's concerned about that.
I don't think he's concerned about it.
Of course he's
today.
not.
I think that once the game starts, if it doesn't start well, I think it would be almost impossible for it to not be somewhere in his subconscious. That's the first thing. No. The second thing they have working against them is
You really think Lamar Jackson lacks confidence in himself? The guy who didn't even get an agent, who had his mom, do that? You really think that guy lacks confidence? Do you hear how insane that sounds? How insane that sounds. He did not budge in the offseason. He didn't cave in and say, all right, you know what, Mom, I'm messing this up. Everyone's telling me. You don't think that there was plenty of people around him who were like, bro, come on, man, get an agent, get an agent. He did not back down. And you think that man lacks confidence? Get out of here. This is such nonsense.
Potential that their first playoff game is going to be against a divisional opponent that is red hot. Because if the favorites hold, if you will, Cleveland is the team that goes to Baltimore. And I'll tell you this much, Cleveland ain't afraid of going to Baltimore.
Oh, no.
And then the last thing they have going against them is the not only reigning actual champions, but the 5-time essential reigning champions of the conference. Even though they haven't won it 5 times, they have to go through at some point. And so all 3 of those things are why I think San Francisco's path is clearer. Even if it were a Niners-Ravens Super Bowl, I would pick Baltimore in a heartbeat.
That's probably why they're the favorites. Because people think they got the easier.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, this is hard to do, but I agree with all your points.
Well, you would have agreed with my ones last time too. Last segment, if you would have listened to them.
And
Go ahead.
I think the Cleveland problem is real because the last home game that Baltimore lost was to Cleveland. Yeah. They were up by 14. Cleveland came back. It was Deshaun Watson's best game, but there isn't that fear or intimidation. So even though Baltimore is as hot as they are, and San Francisco lost a home game a couple games ago to the Ravens and got beat up at home, I do agree that when you've got Patrick Mahomes lurking about and the potential that he always brings, that's an issue as well. And the playoff stress, the moment can get really big for guys. And until they get through that, and Lamar hasn't gotten through that, that can be huge. And on the flip side, with San Francisco, who really challenged them? Who is it going to be the Cowboys? We know that.
Well, the thing is that they always say it's tough to blow out a team twice, that it just doesn't happen. And so the 49ers blew out the Cowboys and they blew out the Eagles. So technically, in theory, you have to say that those games won't be blowouts and that those will be closer games. And if they're closer games, because this happened years ago, the Saints played the Eagles in the regular season and demolished them. And that's when I actually first heard that, stat that it's hard to blow out a team twice. And then with Nick Foles back as a backup quarterback again, it came down to the final play. And the Eagles almost won that game, but a big wide receiver for the Eagles at the time, the ball just went right through his hands. I mean, it just went right through his hands. I mean, it was one of the most, craziest... anyone could have made that catch. Any average player would have made that catch, and he just didn't make the catch. But the Eagles absolutely could have won that game. And either way, they still lost that game, but they could have definitely won that game. And there was even this crazy call that happened where now they change how they officiate the game now, because what it was is it was either a fumble or I forget exactly what it was, but an Eagle player picked it up. And they called it incomplete pass on the field. And when they challenged it, it wasn't clear that the Eagles picked it up, and so it just stayed incomplete again. I forget the exact situation, but now it's players know now to definitely pick up the ball, run into the end zone, and also referees also now are just let the play go longer before they then blow it dead until they really know what happened. And that ended up being a difference maker in the game. So really my greater point is just to say that you just have no idea. That could easily happen in the 49ers versus the Cowboys or 49ers versus the Eagles. I think you would be a fool to believe that the 49ers in the playoffs are just going to magically steamroll the Cowboys again or the Eagles again. I just don't think that will happen, not come time playoffs. Playoff football is rarely like that, unless the Eagles have just truly drop the ball and their coaching staff is just awful, right? If that's the case and their defense just does not have good enough personnel, then yeah, I guess technically you could steamroll them. That's sure a possibility. And if the Cowboys really are just complete disasters on the road, right? Then yeah, they can steamroll them. But if you believe that the Cowboys are legit and that the whole home versus away is a little bit overblown, well then they have a legit chance at beating the 49ers. And if you believe that the Eagles are a legit team, that they're just, going through a rough patch and that they're going to right the ship, well, then you have to believe that it could be a close game. So I don't think the 49ers necessarily just have this walk in the park. And if they do blow out the Eagles and they do blow out the 49ers and they are just continuing to blow out teams and Brock Purdy is looking great and legit, then yeah. So I think I go back and forth with this between which number one seed is more likely to win the Super Bowl. I guess I'm looking at it more from if they're playing each other rather than the journey that they have to go through. And so I guess technically, if you're talking about who has the easier journey to go through, I don't know. I think it's a coin flip, because if you think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to give the Ravens a run for their money, the Chiefs have been playing terrible. And they have a worse record compared to the Cowboys and the Eagles. And the Eagles beat the Chiefs, right? So if you believe all those things, then you have to imagine then that the 49ers and the Ravens equally have tough teams to go through. And in a lot of ways, the biggest question mark is indeed the Cleveland Browns because you just don't know can Joe Flacco sustain this level of play right now. And this is where the playoffs can get kind of frustrating because it's kind of, we would be kind of robbed if the Browns play the Ravens and are really good and maybe beat the Ravens and then Joe Flacco turns back into a pumpkin, like that. We would be robbed. And it also sucks that even if there are two really, really great competitive teams, that because of the way the Cleveland Browns season unfolded, that they're now playing the Ravens in the first round rather than say like the Ravens versus the Chiefs or, something like that kind of now allows these other teams to kind of duke it out before we really get top level versus top level. So I guess I truly, and I know, they always try to act like you have to have a strong opinion either way. I think it's a coin flip. I really do. Who can win? Who's more likely to win? If I'm looking at it from the journey, both teams have to go through the journey and not a head-to-head matchup. If it's a head-to-head matchup, I am betting on the Ravens. I am not betting that Brock Purdy is going to be able to step up into the Super Bowl because in the Super Bowl, a quarterback has to step up. You have to step up. You have to step up. And I believe that Lamar Jackson in the Super Bowl would step up. But, like I just said, since the Ravens blew out the 49ers, the chances of another blowout is definitely a lot smaller. So, who knows with that regard. But if I had to just pick the journey, I think they both equally have, theoretically, a hard, the same level of difficulty of a journey. So I'm just going to give my honest opinion and not just try to make, come up with an opinion just to say, like, I have an opinion. I think it's truly 50-50. And I just don't think anyone can say with such strong conviction. Because if you say, well, the Cowboys are not that good and the Eagles are not that good, well, then the 49ers are not that good. And Cleveland Browns are a legitimate question mark because who the heck knows? Is Joe Flacco, going to keep playing what he's playing? And you think the Jaguars are going to suddenly step up? And same thing with the Bills. What are the Bills going to do? The Bills have been playing with their hairs on fire. And it's like, can the Bills contain this? So I just think all these teams have question marks. And that's what makes this season so exciting. This has been, even though I would say maybe the level of play hasn't been maybe as elite as years past, this has been one of the more exciting years because it really is just a question mark. You have no idea. When the Chiefs have the ball, with 3 minutes to go, you don't have a strong feeling that Patrick Mahomes is just going to easily, win because the Chiefs are just not that good this year. The Eagles, you're like, this is a great team. They're going to right the ship. And then they don't. And you're just like, what the heck? What's going on? The Cowboys, you never know. What are they going to do? On the road, they're like, oh my God, I suddenly can't play. And you're just like, well, that's crazy. The 49ers, no one can stop the 49ers. Boom. Not only did the Ravens beat them, but they demolished them. Miami Dolphins, they're legit. They have a chance at the number 1 seed. Ravens demolished them. The Ravens going up against the Rams. The Rams have really not been that good of a team, but they're like kind of starting to right the ship. Just lose to the Ravens. Some believe that they should have won that game because of a bad call on a punt return. So it's just like anything can happen this season. It's so exciting. And tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this game on Sunday, these games, and Saturday for that matter, these games are just going to, we have an extra week of playoffs right now. So it really starts on Saturday and Sunday. And it's just, this is such an exciting season and I'm all for it and I can't wait. But what do you all think? Who do you think has a better chance at winning? Who do you think has an easier journey, a harder journey? The 49ers or the Ravens? And if you think another team has a better chance at getting there, let me know as well in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please, again, do not forget to subscribe. We are building an amazing community here, and I think we are building something truly, truly special. And I honestly see this channel just as much as mine as it is yours, and I want us to all be proud to be part of it. So thank you so much, and see you next time.